joining us. Hi, everyone. This is the Jeff and Michelle Show. I'm Michelle. Jeff is out showing houses. He's actually out selling houses. So he's selling all the houses out on Long Island. So we have Frank, who is over in Florida. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, of course. So, Frank, we'll just do a quick little intro on you. I know you were a former New Yorker. You moved to Florida maybe 1998. You're a financial advisor, but your passion is real estate. So welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you. I do want to tell everyone how we met. So we had a client up here in New York, Long Island. They were selling their house and they're moving to Florida. That seems to be the trend. So when they moved to Florida, we called around. We have a huge database with EXP. So we called a couple of different agents. We wanted to make sure we got the most responsive, the most productive agent out there that really is able to help our clients just like we help them on Long Island. And we met Frank. So Frank, do you want to give us a little more about you and how you're doing in Florida?
Sure. Thank you again for having me, Michelle and Jeff. So as Michelle said, I'm originally from New York, from Staten Island. I moved down to Florida in 1998. But prior to me moving down to Florida, I worked in Manhattan, did the typical Wall Street type of job. But I've always liked real estate. I've always had that passion to do real estate, to own real estate on my own, to flip houses, everything that you see on TV. So once I did the whole New York thing, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, it's time for me to go to Florida. I had friends down here from high school. And when I was in Florida, I'm like, this would be a perfect time for me to start my real estate. So that's when I started real estate, and I worked for Coldwell Banker initially, and then I became a financial advisor. MetLife had spoken to me for a little while, and they're like, we see you've done sales, we see you've done finance, how would you like to do financial sales? And I missed the finance too. I missed the Wall Street aspect. So I became a financial advisor for a little while, but I missed the real estate. I was here in Florida still. I missed doing the real estate. So I said, you know what? I'm like, I'm going to go back to real estate. So then I became a realtor again and started with the EXP.
Awesome. Well, that's great. So Frank, I'm pretty sure from our conversations and everything we've gone through, Florida real estate is different than New York. So I just want to ask you, what are some challenges, especially out-of-state buyers facing when they come down to Florida?
And that's a great question because it definitely happens. And my last few real estate transactions have been with buyers from the Northeast. And they're like, Frank, you know, you're helping me with this process. Like, this is not how it was when we sold our house up north. And I said, I understand that. I'm like, but you have to realize that Florida is different. They handle the transactions differently. One of the bigger things, and sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's a little more challenging. It depends on the situation.
Absolutely.
Obviously, every person's situation is going to be unique. And I just wanted to kind of preface and say that what we discussed, Michelle and Jeff, it may not be for every single person down here. There may be somebody that comes down here and they may need to do things that we're not discussing here, whether it be contact the real estate attorney. So I just wanted to make sure that people realize that what we're going to discuss today is for a lot of the transactions. It's definitely not for all the transactions.
Absolutely, Frank. Every transaction is different. That's a great point.
Yes. So one of the biggest things is that the contract down here, the real estate contract, is a standardized contract where the realtors are the ones that actually fill in the blanks.
Oh, okay.
So asking price, closing date, financing, buyer and seller's names. That's it for the most part. And then it's a whole bunch of legal paragraphs. The buyer and seller initial everything, they sign everything, and that's it. We could have a contract in 15 minutes. If buyer and seller are both agreed and willing and available to sign the contract, we could have a contract in 15 minutes. We don't have to wait for what I think you call up in New York the attorney review. We don't have to wait for that. So the attorneys now, so the buyers ask me, they're like, you know, do I need an attorney? And I say to them, like, most of the transactions, maybe not most, but a lot of the transactions, no, you do not need an attorney because the title person, the closing agent, will handle the whole process. The mortgage, the checking the title to see if it's clear, the buyer's side, the seller's side, they'll be handling everything. So you actually don't need an attorney.
Wow. That's a big difference from New York, and that's, I'm sure, cuts out a lot of time.
Definitely, because the buyers have told me, they're like, you know, we're still waiting for our attorney review. It's going to be next week. I'm like, next week? I'm like, we could have had this contract done in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And again, I'm being playful with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be. I mean, real estate's, it's stressful enough. We have to have some cheer in there.
Definitely, but it is a more streamlined process. And now, if you wanted to have the attorney, and people said, they're like, can I have an attorney? Of course. But that attorney's, what they're going to be able to do for you is decipher the contract for you, but they're not going to be able to add anything. Again, it's a standardized contract. They're not going to be able to add some long paragraph of legal terminology asking for certain things. It's not going to happen. Now, again, as we said earlier, you may have an affluent buyer that is looking for some multi-million-dollar home on the ocean, and yeah, they may need a real estate attorney to handle that process. The contracts may be separate and different, of course, of what their needs are, but for a lot of the transactions, they would only be really deciphering the process for you. On that note, another reason you may need an attorney, but again, it's only going to be for assistance, is let's say there's a problem. Let's say you want to back out of the contract, which we can discuss in a minute, and the seller says, no, I'm going to hold your money. What the contract states is that both parties will go into mediation. Now, an attorney can obviously help you with that process. They can explain to you, okay, this is what the contract states. This is what your rights are. You have the right to get your money back. They are withholding it, and we'll go to mediation. They can discuss it. But as far as the attorney really going into a lot of him or her discussing to the mediator, they can obviously represent you. But again, it's going to be the mediator that says, okay, yes, you will be getting your deposit back, or no, you won't be getting your deposit back. And that's one example. Obviously, if there's something else that happens in the contract where it kind of breaks down, then obviously, yes, you would need a Florida real estate attorney to assist you. Another thing is sometimes instead of a title agent, a real estate attorney would be the one handling the closing. So they would basically represent the buyer and the seller for the closing. Again, they would be doing the closing. They would be doing the clearing of the title, making sure it's clear, handling the mortgage paperwork and all that, the closing documents. So you may deal with a real estate attorney for the closing process, not necessarily where they represent you or the seller.
So Frank, thank you. That's definitely interesting. Just to recap on that a little, like for the negotiation process, when you have a buyer out of state, obviously from New York, coming down to Florida, say we find a house, you put an offer in. Now, at the time you put the offer in, you and the other realtor negotiate. Like, how does that work? And then once you negotiate, you can do the contracts right there.
Correct.
If I understand correctly.
Correct. So once we have a buyer and they like the house. Yes, I do all the filling in the blanks, the asking price, the closing date, all that stuff. I have them sign it. I forward it on to the other realtor. I send them a message saying, hey, we have an offer for you. They will come back. Now, again, right now, these times are a little crazy. It's definitely a seller's market. So the realtor may be waiting a day or two before they respond back, because they may be waiting for multiple offers, which happens almost on every deal.
Every day almost.
But let's say there are no other offers, or let's say our offer comes in right away and it's exactly what the seller is looking for, then the realtor will take that to the seller. They'll go over it, they'll discuss it, and if they're in an agreement, then they'll sign the contract, and then they'll forward it back, and then we have an executed contract. And
that's it. You're in contract. You're in full contract, ready to go.
Correct.
Wow. Okay, so that's definitely different than New York. That's definitely awesome. Definitely a lot quicker. So tell us a little about the closing process. I know you said that you may or may not need an attorney. Obviously, every situation is going to be different. It sounds like the title closer handles a lot of it, which is wonderful. But now up in New York, we do have attorneys involved. We do have obviously the banks if they're getting a mortgage or not getting mortgage, depends also. But it can take about 45 days to almost 3 months, give or take. So how long does it take down in Florida?
Well, it depends. It depends on if it's a cash only deal or financing. Obviously, if it's financing, then you have to have the appraisal taken care of and all the mortgage paperwork. So that'll be the longest process. But if it's a cash deal, then you really don't have to have the appraisal. The biggest thing will be the inspection. The inspection, obviously, you want to have the inspection. And in Florida, a lot of the contracts, not all of them, but a lot of the contracts are considered as is contracts, which means that the buyer can get out of the contract based on the number of days that we say for inspection, whether it's 7, 10, 15 days. They can get out of the contract and get their full deposit back. And it doesn't even have to be based on the inspection. It's called the inspection period. But if for some reason the buyer changes their mind, they can say, you know what, we want to get out of this contract. We'd like our deposit back. But let's say it is due to the inspection. Let's say the roof is bad. Something structural is bad. It's not worth fixing. The seller doesn't have to fix it. A lot of times, and this is what a lot of the buyers would say is like, well, you know, I had to fix all the broken wall sockets. I had to fix the plumbing. I had to fix the leaky toilet. The sellers down here, they don't have to do that with an as-is contract. Now, granted, not every contract will be an as-is contract, but they don't have to if it is an as-is contract. So let's say that it's a 7-day inspection period. Everything goes fine. That's done. 7 days, the contract is going forward. Again, if it's a cash deal, they can close as soon as, basically the next step would be if title is clear. If title's not clear, well, then now the seller has to do something to clear that title, whether it be the proceeds from the sale pays off the contractor or the mortgage, whatever the cloud is. But if title is clear, then they can close as little as 2 to 3 weeks. Again, it's going to depend on inspection. Obviously, you don't want to rush that. And then, because you don't have to worry about the appraisal, you don't have to worry about the mortgage paperwork. Now, if it is, let's say it is a mortgage, which obviously a lot of the contracts are as well, you still have the inspection period, and then you have the appraisal come, and then the mortgage company obviously will look at all the paperwork, they'll look at everything, and we've done closes in 30 days, 40 days.
Wow.
And now, obviously, it can take longer if the mortgage company needs to get things done or there's a hiccup. Obviously, there's going to be hiccups.
Of course.
So
it's real estate, right?
Yes.
We always let everyone know up front. Usually, you know, things can go great in the beginning, things can go terrible in the beginning, and either the end, it could end really strong. It could be, you know, things we get curveballs. But what we do is we are the problem solvers. So we just say, okay, how can we fix this? What can we do next?
Agreed. Definitely agreed.
Yeah, no, so that's definitely awesome. I mean, this is great stuff learning about Florida real estate.
And just to finish that point about the closing, the title person will sit with both parties there. They'll go over the buyer's side of the contract, all the closing costs and what's due, what they're paying. Then they'll go over the seller side, and then if there is a mortgage, they'll go through the mortgage paperwork. So it's that closing person. Again, the closing person can either be a real estate attorney that the seller hires, or it could be a title person working at a title company. So it'll be that person. And again, if it is a more complex situation, then yes, the buyer or seller may have their real estate attorney present. But a lot of the transactions, there is no attorney present unless they are the one handling the closing. It would be that title person.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great. Definitely lots of different variations from New York. I remember when we had our seller go down there was some issues with, I believe, a storm door. Is that like common down there or something like that? I think because you guys have maybe hurricanes, or it's a little different.
Well, so you have the insurance, and obviously insurance down here, because of the hurricanes, like you mentioned, is a big thing. Roofs are a big problem. If a roof is 15 years or older, the insurance companies throw red flags up, and a lot of people recently have been getting dropped from their insurance companies because of the age of roofs. So a lot of people are changing their roofs out. But a buyer coming in, if there's that older roof, they're going to have the problem. Another issue is you get depending on the age of the home and what the home has, you can get a mitigation wind discount from your insurance. So let's say your house is a newer home. It's going to be built to code for the hurricanes. It's going to have all the impact windows or impact garage doors. But the glass doors are a problem if you don't have shutters over the glass doors. Now, you can still get insurance. You're just not going to get that extra discount, and that discount can be a significant savings. So our buyer, one of the houses that she saw, it had a glass door. It was an older home, so it wasn't really up to code with a lot of the other items that needed to be done, but she wasn't going to get that discount because of the glass door, and there was no shutters, hurricane shutters, over that glass door.
Wow.
So that was and again, she would still be able to get insurance. She's just going to have to pay full cost until she's able to remedy some of those things.
And she will have to pay for the hurricane shutters and go forward from there.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And obviously, depending on where you live, having a hurricane shutter is definitely a prudent thing to do to protect your home and your investment. But that may not be something that you can do right away. It may be something that you have to do eventually if the house doesn't already have them on and attached.
Okay, that's
or
good
available
to know.
to use.
So, Frank, what areas do you cover down in Florida?
So when I first moved down here, I lived in the West Palm Beach area, so that's Palm Beach County, and I've always had jobs and done other business in northern Palm Beach County. So anywhere from West Palm Beach Gardens to Jupiter. But now I live in the county just north of Palm Beach called Martin County. So Martin County has Stuart and Palm City, and then the county just above Martin County is called St. Lucie County, which is where Port St. Lucie is, and a lot of people are moving to Port St. Lucie. It's definitely a big area.
Jeff and I have been looking. It looks very, very nice, very peaceful.
Yeah, so if anywhere from basically West Palm Beach, which because I know the area, but where I primarily do will be Martin County and St. Lucie County.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Well, Frank, I mean, this has been a pleasure. Do you have any other tips that you want to share with any of the people that might be moving out of state, coming down to Florida?
Just a few, and again,
Cool.
it's probably with any real estate transaction, no matter where you are. But basically, time is of the essence, and you basically need to do what the professional's telling you, whether it's your mortgage person, your realtor, your insurance person, because time is of the essence. So with that, and just a brief example of that is with the inspection period that we mentioned earlier. If you have 7 days to get out of the contract, 10 days to get out of the contract with getting your full deposit back, once you get your inspection, you need to get that done immediately. Once you put the contract in, you need to get that inspection done immediately because you only have those days. And then if something's major wrong, you're stuck. You're in the contract. The second part of that is that you need to contact your insurance person, which obviously I would be able to give you a few people to contact. But you need to speak with that person immediately, get the relationship going. So when you get that inspection report back, that you can immediately send that to the insurance person, because that's a problem, as we discussed, is that the insurance person may say, you may have something wrong with the house where it's okay, the house is not going to fall down, but the insurance company may not cover it. So there might be 30 insurance companies in Florida, but depending on where you live, only 3 or 4 or 5 may cover your area.
Ooh, that's great.
So you want to speak to that insurance person immediately as well to make sure that you have insurance and that there will be an insurance company that will cover you.
Absolutely.
So that's important. So and same thing with the mortgage. There's a portion in the contract that says that if you don't listen to your mortgage broker and the seller finds out that you're stalling and you're holding back paperwork, the seller can back out of the deal and keep your deposit. So,
wow.
So definitely, time is definitely of the essence, and I'm sure that's in every real estate contract all over the country. And obviously, you want to listen to but when the mortgage person, the realtor, the insurance person says, okay, this is what needs to get done and this is the timeline, you really need to follow it, because you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose a deposit, and you don't want to lose your home, your potential home, because of something that fell through the cracks.
100%, absolutely. Here in New York, we usually get about 45 days, give or take, to get a mortgage, secured, which usually is pretty good. But yeah, no, that was awesome. I mean, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day today. Thank you for sharing about some tips and things that we need to know. And anyone looking to sell in New York, I mean, we can help you here and down in Florida, the northern. One more time with the counties. I'm sorry, I know it's Port St. Lucie, but I know that's not the only area.
So Palm Beach, northern Palm Beach County, all of Martin County, and all of St. Lucie County.
Perfect. And I have your contact number below. You want to share it real quick because it's not on the screen. Sorry. It's coming through. It's rolling through.
So there it is. It's 561-313-3638.
Perfect. And is that the best way for them getting in contact with you?
Yes, it is, Michelle. Thank you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Frank. We'll talk to you soon.